Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Elhamdülillahi Rabbil alemin. Salatu vesselamu ala seyyidil mursalin. Ve ala alihi ve sahabeti ecmaîn. Subhaneke la ilme lena illa ma 'allamtena inneke entel alimul hakim. Subhaneke la fehme lena illa ma fehemtena inneke entel cevalul kerim. Kul rabbi zidni ilma. Euzu billahi mineşşeytanirracim. إذا رأيت الذين يخوضون في آياتنا فأعرض عنهم حتى يخوضوا في حديث غيره وإما ينسينك الشيطان فلا تقعد بعد الذكرى مع القوم الظالمين وما على الذين يتقون من حسابهم من شيء ولكن ذكرى لعلهم يتقون صدق الله مولانا العظيم. So here Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions a very important principle, and it's particularly important to us living in the West in the 21st century. إذا رأيت الذين يخوضون في آياتنا فأعرض عنهم حتى يخوضوا في حديث غيره. And when you see, and of course the address here is in the singular, which is to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, but the address, as in many instances, even though literally it's addressed to the Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam, but many of these addresses are to the Prophet directly but actually indirectly, and the objective is a lesson for the ummah, because in many of these instances the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam would never involve in such things, but the being included makes it all the more emphasized. So when you see, O Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, those who are entering into our ayat, basically yakhud al-khawd means entering into something, and generally khawd, when you enter into the water and immerse yourself therein. So those who immerse themselves into the discussion of the ayats of the Quran, or discussion of the Quran in batil, in falsehood and in ridicule and in blasphemy, etc. So what do? فَأَعْرِضْ عَنْهُمْ حَتَّى يَخُوضُوا فِي حَدِيثٍ غَيْرِهِ. And of course this is a Meccan surah, and these are Meccan ayats, and so of course the companions radiallahu anhum would, by virtue of living in Makkah, they would not be, of course, free from such situations, and they would, even in the Haram Sharif, they would go, for their own ibadat, and then all of this nonsense would be going on, and the narrative was, continuously ongoing with the kuffar of Makkah, talking about the mission of Rasul alayhi salatu wasalam in Islam, and bad mouthing it in various ways. So in that case, what is to be done? فَأَعْرِضْ عَنْهُمْ. So turn away from them until they enter into some other hadith. So if you happen to be in the company of the disbelievers, or anyone for that matter, and they start discussing or start talking badly about Islam or the Quran, here particularly ayatina, so this means specifically, literally the verses of the Quran, but anything dealing with deen. There's talking things that are either untrue or blasphemic, or just totally frivolous and totally out of place, then leave them. أَعْرِضْ عَنْهُمْ. In other words, turn away from them. So meaning what? Leave the gathering. As a matter of fact, ulama say that such gatherings where one knows that such type of engagements takes place, don't even attend in the first place. To the extent that they say even people, that's their nature, don't be in their company, because just like the fire, if you don't get burnt by it, you will certainly you won't be safe from the soot and the ashes. Okay? Suppose in certain situations, and this would be relevant here, we find ourselves in a situation of gathering, for example, in your business contact, in your workplace, or and such type of discussions take place. Now, ideally, you should get up and leave. If that's not possible, then what to do? Then engage in some other activity. Don't engage with them. In other words, they're giving a discussion, you sit there, no. Either get up and leave, and particularly those who are, people who are followed, opinion makers, particularly religious personalities, who people look to them for and see their example as guidance, they definitely should leave from such places regardless of the situation, of these circumstances. If there's the ulama mentioned though, however, as deen is, the general principle is the way of ease is to be preferred. So if that's going to cause a definite detriment, one perceives, a problem in leaving such gatherings, for example, in a business meeting or in a presentation or, in these contexts where you're not able to, for whatever reason, get up and leave, so at least disengage with the narrative that's going on. And of course, whenever it's possible, advice should be given to such people in such gatherings, of course diplomatically and of course with their best interests in mind, but fearing Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that we are responsible for, standing up for the truth wherever we happen to be. So if that's possible without fear of severe retribution or something, then that should be done as well, particularly if that's in the now we find very often that we find ourselves in the company of Muslims who have been taken out by all of this, the trends of the day, and with very little knowledge or no knowledge whatsoever, and they start talking things which are inappropriate ignorantly. So we should, if we have the capability and we are firmly grounded in what we're in these issues, then we should, call them to the proper way, but of course diplomatically and lovingly and with the hope of the best interest, that they should, with the hearts and minds towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that open the hearts and let these individuals, see the light. And if you can be of assistance in informing them of the same, then by all means do so. وَإِمَّا يُنْسِيَنَّكَ الشَّيْطَانُ. And so what happens if shaitan, and that's of course his portfolio is to continuously take us off the track. So suppose we find ourselves in such situations and we've forgotten about the prohibition, or we got involved and then we come to our senses. So فَلَا تَقْعُدْ بَعْدَ الذِّكْرَ مَعَ الْقَوْمِ الظَّالِمِينَ. So if we did find ourselves in that situation inadvertently or in neglect, or we were not in recollection properly, or then we come to our recollection, then after we come to our recollection, بعد الذكر, بعد الذكرى. So once we recall, the situation and the reality, and we're not supposed to be there, so don't continue sitting with the wrongdoers, the oppressors, the people engaging in such things. And then, as we mentioned, as in the Sha'n al-Nuzul, or the event of the revelation, as the Muslims would be specifically in their context, the main issue was they were in the haram, and then this discussion narrative would be going on. Quraysh would be sitting there and talking. So should we get up and leave from the haram also? So here, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, وَمَا عَلَى الَّذِينَ يَتَّقُونَ مِنْ حِسَابِهِمْ مِنْ شَيْءٍ. So those people of taqwa, the hisab of these people and the accountability of these people doing such, when you don't have the wherewithal to do something about their situation or about their discussions, their narratives, and you find yourself in a situation that you want to be there, like the haram, for example, in the masjid, whatever, the people are engaged in these things, you don't have the wherewithal to stop them. So you're not going to be responsible for their wrong activities. وَلَكِنْ ذِكْرَ لَعَلَّهُمْ يَتَّقُونَ. But moreover, as we mentioned earlier, if it's possible to give some reminder to them and bring them around and cause them to reflect, so that perhaps they might also adopt the path of taqwa. So may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us tawfiq and save us from such gatherings in the first place. If found, then give us tawfiq to do what's appropriate. Ameen thumma ameen wa akhir da'wana alhamdulillahi rabbil